Good evening, ambassadors of Coconut Creek. It is our pleasure to have you here tonight. I'm going to do you a big favor, and that is I'm going to let the most important people in our department present to you, and that is my amazing staff that are standing out here that are going to explain to you what services we offer. I've been here almost 8 years as chief of police, came from the west coast of Florida, and the one thing I'm most proud about when it comes to service provision at our police department is we have focused on a strategic plan in line with what the city's guidance have been. We've enhanced technology at this police department significantly for better services. And one of the most important things is our hybrid service model. Many of you that know me, know our department, know that we have a kind of paramilitary / corporate service model. We look at you as the stakeholder in an organization, and you expect a return on investment for the money that you spend for your public safety dollar, correct, in the community. So we've got 60,000 residents who count on us to deliver that. Tonight, you're going to hear what you're getting for that investment. So there will be an opportunity to answer questions. You know you can always contact me if you have any input, ideas, thoughts. I love input from the community. I get a lot of it, and I love it. And my cell phone will be shared with all of you, and I'll make sure you have it before I leave here today. And with that, I present to you, amongst many of my staff that are here tonight, Captain Fred Hofer, our Captain of Special.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. You guys look great. What a crowd. Ambassadors, you are the newest employees for the city of Coconut Creek. And here's the good part. You get a salary. But your salary is not money. We got something much better than money for you guys. You get the knowledge and wealth of information that you can bring back to family, friends, and neighbors and share what your police department presents tonight. We've got two other presenters aside from myself, and we're going to discuss about new programs that we plan on implementing, some programs we have implemented that you probably didn't even know we had. We're going to discuss some of the specialty units that we already have and some of the goals and some of the resources that they have available in your city. And then we'll have some ideas at the end and some of the new technology that we've integrated with our real-time crime center. So we have two other presenters beside me. The first one's going to be our accreditation manager, her name's Sanchia Williams. She's going to discuss the accreditation process, what it entails and what it means to us in the community. The second presenter is Sergeant Barbara Hendricks. She's over our community services section, and she's going to discuss all the components that make up her section. Okay, so with that, let's get started. Sanchia, come up.
Good afternoon. I am Sanchia Williams, and I am your Coconut Creek Police Department Accreditation Program Manager. So what does that mean? What is accreditation, and what does that mean to the city? So accreditation is having a third party certify that our law enforcement agency is complying with state statutes, Florida law, state and national best practices. Our agency is state accredited, which means we answer to the Commission for Florida Law Enforcement Accreditation. What's special about being accredited is that it is a voluntary process. We self-initiate it. We say we want to take on this responsibility of doing more than what is required. Now, what is required? Well, every 3 years, we got accredited in 2018, every 3 years, an assessment team of accreditation professionals from around the state of Florida come and observe our operations, review our policies and procedures. What are they looking for? What checks and balances are they checking on? What safeguards are they ensuring are in place? Well, they're looking to make sure high liability areas are enforced. They're looking at our use of force incidents. They're looking at vehicle pursuits. They're looking at how we manage personnel, how we're hiring, how we're promoting, how we're evaluating our members. They're looking at our training requirements. And last but not least, they're ensuring that we are reviewing our policies and procedures to ensure that they are always accurate and current. Now, in 2021, which is in the last assessment, you should be very proud of our agency. We received reaccreditation with 0 areas of non-compliance, which means to you, the city, yes, go ahead. Which means that our agency met or exceeded over 236 standards that were set by the commission. Now, what does this mean to the city? What does this mean to the community? Why did the city want to make sure that our law enforcement agency was accredited? Because we want to make sure that the community is proud of us. We want to make sure that you understand that there's a level of transparency, that we're holding ourselves accountable, we answer to the commission, and that we are doing our job every day with integrity. Now, aside from our accreditation program, what is also very special about the Coconut Creek Police Department is we have a very unique and robust quality assurance program. And what that is we have over, in addition to our accreditation standards, over 100 other internal processes for the different components of our agency that we monitor so that we are always in a continual state of evaluation. So you should be very proud of that. We want to make sure that our residents and the community are proud of the agency, and we hope that you can see all the work that we're putting into it. So, thank you. And next I present Sergeant Barbara Hendricks of the Community Services Unit.
Thank you, Sanchia. She does not give her she doesn't give herself enough credit with that, I can tell you that. All of us in uniform, when she says jump, we say how high. She makes sure we're in line. So kudos about to her. So just let's talk a little bit about community services. I'm over the community services unit. It consists of, I have people who work for me who we go out in the community and we do these different events that we're going to get into. But first we have online services. The online services that we have is we have a bike registry program. So all of our residents who have a bike, if you want to go ahead and take a picture of it, register it, you put your serial number for the bike in the system. That way, if a year down the road your bike disappears, you're not like, oh, I don't know what my serial number was, or I don't have any pictures of it or anything like that. It's all on file with us, so we can properly fill out a police report for you, and if your bike is recovered, we know it and we can get it back to you. We also participate in HOA meetings. That means homeowner association. That's what HOA stands for. So if you're part of a community that has an HOA and you would like us to come out and talk about any topics that are of concern to you, if you want to hear about crime trends, or if you want to hear about ways to prevent theft, ways to prevent cars from getting broken into, invite us. We love to go to those things. We go to as many as we can. We also do residential and business security surveys. Everybody that's on my team is certified in what's called crime prevention through environmental design. So we can go to your home, we can go to your business, and we can give you tips on what you can do to make your home or your business less susceptible to being burglarized or a victim of a crime. We also have a trespass program, and now this isn't for individual homes. This is for businesses, or this is for communities. So for example, if you live in Coranda 3, your association can become a partner to our trespass program. So if you have somebody that's on your property who doesn't belong there, we can act on your behalf to trespass that individual. We don't have to call one of you out, one of your board members out to address that. We also have a special needs registry. Our special needs registry is for anybody who's either on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, or somebody who has a cognitive impairment. So if it's somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, they can be a part of this as well. And it's kind of the same principle as your bike registry. If you have somebody who disappeared from your house, like say you have an elderly grandparent, and their memory's failing them a little bit, and they wandered away at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're going to be a little stressed, you're going to be a little panicked, and you're going to be like, oh, I forgot what their license plate number is, or I forgot, this or that. Where if you go into the special needs registry, it asks you all of that information, so that way we already have it. We're not wasting time trying to get that information from you. We already have it, and the second we get the call, we can pull that up and start looking for your family member instead of the 15, 20, 30 minutes it might take to gather that information that's critical. So the other part of our job, the fun part of our job, is our community engagement. We as a department are very involved in the community. We love going out and having parties and get-togethers and getting to know our community. And we also like to provide services. Some of the things that we do is drug take-back event. So at our drug take-back event, we do this in conjunction with the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. They set the dates twice a year, and we let our residents come out to dispose of their unwanted, unused prescriptions, right? We don't want to leave them in the cabinets for young children to potentially get into and use or abuse. We also take, with our fire department, we take needles back. So anybody who's diabetic, who doesn't have a way to get rid of their needles, at those events, we do take them back through our fire department. Autism Awareness Month is in April. We participate in an event with the Promenade, and that event is on April 8th. So please come out, it's from 10 to 1. We have a great event there. And also, we take that month as an opportunity to retrain our staff in the different techniques that they can use if they come in contact on the road with somebody who's on the spectrum, how they can interact with them to best suit that person's individual needs. Water safety. This is our drowning prevention awareness day that we have. We have the Florida Wildlife Commission come out. We have the Coast Guard come out. They bring a bunch of assets and we try to teach kids how to be safe around water to prevent drownings. Shred event. Our next shred event, we are going to be scheduling soon, so come back to our website to see the date. We usually have it in April, the end of April, the beginning of May, because we like to do that one right after tax season, so you can get rid of all of your documents that you don't want anybody to use to steal your identity. SAFE, we host a SAFE class once every other month, except for during the summer. But once every other month, it's a SAFE class, which is Self-Defense Awareness and Familiarization Exchange. It's a very light self-defense class. It is catered towards women, but men are more than welcome to come. And we just give you some tips on how to be aware of your surroundings and how to prevent yourself from being the victim of a crime. We teach you a couple little moves to get away from somebody if you need to. And then we have our community engagements and events that, for example, one of them is called Pizza with a Popo. We have ice cream with a cop, coffee with a cop. And these are just, and we're also doing these community barbecues where we go into communities and we invite, the residents to come and we're gonna cook for them, our chiefs cook for them, the fire chiefs, the police chiefs. And they come out and we just engage with the community so that you get to know us on a personal level and we get to know you on a personal level. And you see what your tax dollars is going to. You get to know us, right? This is near and dear to my heart. We have a nonprofit that we run out of the police department. It's called Do the Right Thing of Coconut Creek. We recognize 5 school-age kids every month and one teacher every month who gets caught doing the right thing. And we have a ceremony right here in our chambers at 5:30. The next one is on the 30th. I hope everybody in this room comes. It'll be the best 30 minutes of your month, besides this. But this is solely done, taken care of by sponsors. We have many sponsors, like the Promenade at Coconut Creek, the casino. Tonight, as a matter of fact, the new dealership in the Coconut Creek Auto Mall, Genesis dealership. They're opening up soon. They're having a grand opening. Tonight, they're giving us a $5,000 check to go towards this program. So it's a wonderful program, and I hope everybody here comes out. I hope you're putting this date in your calendar, and you come out to the one on March 30th and the future events as well. And Animal Services is also another service we provide. And we're different from other cities by calling this Animal Services. A lot of cities call this Animal Control. We're not just out there catching loose animals and turning them over to the Broward Humane Society. We actually want to provide a service with this. So this is Jennifer. She's our Animal Services Officer. She attends HOA meetings so she can educate our residents on how to interact with our local wildlife and we can live together. She also attends our community events to hand out flyers. We also have this website. It's called Critters in the Creek, and it's an informational website. And you can go on there and find how to, if you're having a nuisance problem with iguanas or the Egyptian geese, it tells you some little tips as to how you can try to curb whatever situation you're having with each one of those individual animals. And we also have in the back, after we're done with this, if you wanted to go back and get it, we have something that's called the Pet Hub. How many people have heard of our Pet Hub? Okay, not too many people. It's actually, you can see the little blue thing right there that says Critters in the Creek on it. That's what our Pet Hub looks like. On the flip side of that is a QR code. And if your animal, your dog, your cat, your ferret, whatever that has a collar, you put it on their collar, and if the animal gets loose and somebody finds it, they can take their smartphone and they can scan that QR code and it comes back to your pet. You have to enter the information, it's not automatically there. You have to go onto their website, it's free. You just enter your name, your phone number, your pet's information. It's a brief description, your pet's name, what it looks like, and so forth. And that way, if your animal ever gets loose, we have a way to contact you. Okay? So, with further ado, I am going to turn the rest of this presentation over to Captain Holford.
Sergeant, I didn't see a date for Water Safety Day.
It's May, or March, April 29th, I think? I don't have my phone.
Yes.
Mostly it's on the website.
Well, it's on the website.
The majority of what we talk about, the new programs that we're implementing, are on the website. You can find them there. Also, at the end of this, we're going to get through everything. We'll be off to the side. We can answer specific questions that you might have. We can find those answers for you. All right, so let's start with the school resource unit. School resource officers, what does that mean? Well, there's actually three parts to that. First, we have officers, full-time police officers that are specifically assigned from patrol. We move them over and assign them to each of the schools in Coconut Creek. We also have officers that are considered part-time, but the part-time, they're not really part-time. What that refers to is that whenever the children are in school, these officers are there. So they have nights, weekends, and holidays, and the summer off, so we consider them part-time. And then we have Taylor and Officer Leonard. Taylor. Everybody else, nobody else gets a round of applause, but the dog always gets the applause. So, I don't know if anybody recognizes Officer Leonard, but he's the officer that caught the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooter. Soon after that happened, we began to look into other options, and we found Taylor. Taylor is the first vaporweight dog in the country, and basically she's a gun dog. So these two are completely assigned to our schools. They sit at the entrance, they walk around the schools looking only for guns. They detect gunpowder, so guns, ammunition. But they do such a good job that we're not the only ones that use them. We get calls on a regular basis from Coral Springs, Davie, Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise, and plenty of areas throughout Broward County where their services are needed on a regular basis, and they usually do find the gun. Right? So this is Taylor. So, school services unit, again, there's the officers that are assigned specifically to the school, but there's a lot of responsibilities. Some of them include career days, where the officers get to speak about the profession to the children. They conduct threat assessments, and this is a newer phenomenon, but any children, no matter what age, regardless of the grade, if they're making threats in school, whether to other children or to staff, we will investigate that to the fullest. So that's a big deal. We also conduct the DARE program. Now DARE stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. This is a program that started back in 1983, and it was so successful that now thousands of programs around the country exist. Well, in Coconut Creek, all of our schools have a DARE program. All our school resource officers are trained as instructors in DARE. It's a 2-week program or 2-week course that we send the officers away for. It's not easy to get the certification. They do a lot of homework, they do a lot of research, and they have to make presentations, because this is a series of courses starting in kindergarten all the way through high school. And the program is basically designed for resistance to drugs, gangs, and violence. And it's been quite successful since 1983, so we do that in all our schools. And then we have the Explorer program, and this is a program that basically starts as a freshman in high school, and the children can stay until about 21 years old, 21, 22 years old. But it gives the kids an opportunity and exposure to law enforcement. They get to go on field trips, they do competitions, they get to go on ride-alongs with the officers, they meet once a month, and it's kind of like the Boy Scouts for law enforcement. It's a good program. We've actually hired, I know of 4, I've been here 26 years, and we hired 4 officers from that program. Yeah. Traffic Services Unit. Now, everybody knows traffic cops, and a lot of them get aggravated because they write everybody tickets. But this unit has quickly become one of the most important services that we provide in the police department. These folks get pulled in every direction, and the majority of their time is actually spent in school zones, trying to make sure that the kids can get in and out of school safely. Other things that they're responsible for include DUI enforcement, aggressive driving, they monitor all school zones, and the illegal racing and gatherings. And we currently have seven officers assigned to this unit, and 8 police service aides. They investigate crashes. Patrol services. So patrol is the backbone of every department. Currently, we have 4 teams that work 24 hours a day, 4 patrol teams, and on the average, they have 10 or 11 officers assigned to the team and 3 supervisors. Now, aside from responding to calls for service, they have other responsibilities. Some of them include the Vacation Watch program, and I'm going to discuss that in the next slide in depth. The Park Walk and Talk program, and this is a program that actually forces our officers to get out into the public, speak with the public, engage the public, meet with the kids playing in the parks, and just talk to everybody, because you put a face with the program or a face with the officer, they become human, and trust is built, and that's how we engage the community a little bit better. Patrol is driven by intelligence-driven, and it includes a lot of technology. We have 2 analysts for the city, and weekly they are running the statistics based on all of the reports that we gather on a regular basis, and they're feeding our officers the information. What's happening, where, when, why, how can we prevent it, and what can we do in a proactive manner to stop it or quell it. And they are involved in community events. The officers are routinely requested, their presence is requested at homeowners association meetings. I know they like to go now, we're back, we've been invited back to the Winmore Cove event, but the officers do community events. The parks, they visit the parks, the baseball games, all the sports, they routinely are requested to drive through the areas, but they like to get out and mingle with the people as well. So patrol has a lot of different responsibilities, not just responding to emergencies. Okay, so the Vacation Watch program. How many, by show of hands, know about our Vacation Watch program? All right, so a good amount. This has been a big hit for a long time. However, in the last couple of years, we've kind of modified the program a little bit to enhance customer service. One of the things, so the bottom line, if you don't know about our Vacation Watch program, it's the officers will visit your home and check on it, and there are a couple of requirements. So we'll just make sure that while you're away on vacation, either from 3 days up to about a month, okay? That's some of the requirements we'll get over in a sec. But the officers will show up on a regular basis, usually once a day. They'll check the residence, they'll walk around the outside, and then since you register when you're going to be gone, and we know how long you're going to be gone for, you're also asked to put in there any special things that are specific to your home. So if you have a vehicle that's going to be in the driveway, a red Ford, or maybe in the backyard the furniture is put up against the window, anything that's unique that would look a little odd to an officer would be listed in there. And if anything is out of the ordinary, when they do the check, we'll get in contact with you and check to make sure that's supposed to be there. If any windows are broken, we just kind of make sure that no one's messing with your home while you're away. So requirements are 3 days up to 31 days. Okay, also, you're required to have a 30-day lapse if you want another check. And last, you're only allowed 2 30-day requests within 365 days. In other words, we got a lot of calls at the beginning of this to please watch my home for the next 7 months because I live in New York. So that's like the snowbird rule. But we just wouldn't be able to do, we had so many requests, we had to develop some of these rules to not take patrol away from their other duties as well. So it's just a little added benefit that we do for the community to keep an eye on your home while you're away. So this is a big deal. This is brand new. Introducing Creek Armor. This is our own public safety app, our official public safety app. I'm going to talk about some of the features, the important features, and what it means to you. But let's do this first. Ambassadors, can you please pull out your phone? Okay? I'm going to walk you through. What we're going to do is I'm going to get you to the app or the icon so that you can download it. We're not going to do anything past that because it's a little registration process that you can do at home. But then we're going to discuss the features, what it means to you, and how you could use the app for safety. It's a safety app for the most part. But this is our centralized hub. So for those Android users, go ahead and go to your Google Play Store, and you're going to type in Creek Armor, one word, CREEK ARMOR. Creek Armor, one word. And the icon will look like this. So on the blue or black background with our patch on the front. Okay? For those of you who have Apple products, I'm going to apologize now because you were duped into buying an inferior product. I'm just kidding. See how quick we can divide the room? I'm just kidding. So Apple user, go ahead and type in Creek Armor. I think you could do one word or separate them and it'll still come up. Go ahead and download that while we're talking. You don't need to open it because once you open it, it's going to bring up the registration process. You can do that at home. Let's talk about some of the features. The biggest feature of this app, well, first off, this is directly tied to our central technology, our real-time crime center. So those are our little, to give you an idea of what that is. It's like mini dispatch center. But they do more than dispatch. They really don't dispatch as much. They're checking the cameras that are throughout the city. They're monitoring the cameras throughout the city, and they're also monitoring this app. They also assist officers with little side information, like for stolen vehicles, they do checks for them and all that. But the app is directly tied to that technology. It's monitored 24 hours a day. It's completely free, and all the services that are included in this app are free. But the biggest part of this app, the first thing we want to talk about is the panic button. When you open the app, it does look like this, okay? And up front, where the big red button that says panic button, when you hit that once, it goes directly to our real-time crime center. It tracks the location, and we're going to send an officer to you. That is a silent notification. If you hit the button once, you don't have to say anything. We're going to come. We're going to send an officer to check on you. Once you hit that, it does send your geolocation so you know where you're at, and we will respond. If you hit it twice, then you'll actually be able to talk to somebody and tell them what's going on. Now we came up with that because we do get calls on occasion where teenagers or wives are at home and they hear a noise and they think somebody's breaking in, but they don't want to talk loud because they don't want nobody to know that they're there. So it's a silent feature that they could just hit it once and we're coming anyway. Inside the app, there's also other ways of making a suspicious, other ways of making notifying us about suspicious events. You could either text us, email us, call us, or there's a link for online that brings you to a whole page where you put detailed information about something suspicious in the neighborhood that you'd like us to look into. But some of the other important features with the app include walk with a friend, and this is interesting. So if you're going for a walk and you want a friend, somebody to keep an eye on you just in case something happens, you can click on the button that says walk with a friend, and your contacts come up. And you pick the contact you want to monitor your activity, they'll send a link to that person. Then that person can track you while you're going on your walk. So if you're walking to your friend's house, or if your kids are walking to a friend's house, or if you're just going for a walk in the park and you want somebody to keep an eye on you, this is a good feature. Now if something happens, if you stop moving or you don't arrive at your destination, your friend can hit the activate button and it sends a notice to our real-time crime center, and we're going to send somebody to look for you, make sure you're okay. Report a crime, we kind of talked about that already. That's several ways inside the app, and once you get in there, it's self-explanatory, and all the buttons explain exactly what they do, and it walks you through how you can actually report a crime or report a suspicious incident. The last thing is that section right under where it says Creek Armor. It says there's small writing right there. Now, when you get in the app, you can actually make that a little bit bigger, but that is a live feed to our Twitter connection, or a live connection to our Twitter feed, and that changes every couple of seconds. It's just an update that we provide, and it's just like live information that we put on there every day. And if you see something that piques your interest, you click on it, it brings you to the Twitter account, and it shows you exactly what it is in bigger letters, because I have a hard time reading that small letters, small words. Okay, next is our criminal investigation section. So this is a big area in our police department. Criminal investigation section includes all of our detectives, our crime scene women, our background investigator for new hires, and our victim advocate. And some of their responsibilities include the victim advocate services, our sexual offender and predator system, and that's something that we have a system in place, and our policy dictates that we check on all sexual offenders and predators in our city every month. Just that we meet with them, like we let them know we're watching them, and that's how we keep an eye on them. We maintain that status. Crime Stoppers, all of the Crime Stoppers reports and anonymous complaints come through our criminal investigation section, and they're divvied to the department or sent to the department accordingly. If it's narcotics related, it'll go to our special enforcement team. If it's fraud, it'll stay within our detective bureau and so whatnot. They also handle our risk protection orders to make sure that if we have an issue and there's a question that someone should or not have a firearm in the house, we get the order to at least temporarily seize that weapon and make sure that they're able to have it in the future. They're going to have to go back and go through the court system to get it back. But the risk protection order, this is a fairly new thing that we've been dealing with. It's a lot of work, and our detectives have gotten really good at it. Internet crimes against the children, which is also our ICAC unit. We have 2 detectives that are specifically trained to deal with this type of crime and investigation. And then fraud presentation throughout the city. We're going to talk about that a little bit. This is a rising trend that we've been seeing in the city. So this is how we're going to deal with it. Fraud and scams. I'm not going to get into the specific scams out there because there's so many. The target population for this are our senior citizens, and that's mainly because of the technology that they're using to get what they want. But these criminals are savvy, and there's a couple of tips that we're going to talk about right now that can just help alleviate it, or at least lower the amount of times they can get inside and get away with crime. But if you get a call or a text or an email that you don't recognize, we say just don't open it. If you happen to open an email that you're not sure of, or you get in there, you're like, I shouldn't open that, don't click on any of the links inside. If you don't know what it is, don't open it. That's the safest way of doing it, or looking at it. But some of the other questions you should ask is this a high pressure thing, or is it too good to be true? If you get a phone call that you just won the lottery, we need your bank account, that should be a hint. You shouldn't have to give your bank account if you won the lottery. And you shouldn't be winning the lottery if you didn't play. Must respond immediately, that's another one. Threats of arrest, this is another one. The IRS is calling you saying, we're going to arrest you if you don't pay a couple $100 because you're back due on your taxes. They don't do that. The IRS will not call and threaten you with an arrest. Pay now through wire transfer, credit card, or crypto, all of these, just little tips. If you don't recognize it, don't open it. If they ask you for personal information, just don't give it. Now, if you do experience something and you're not sure if it's something suspicious, but you're not sure if it's a crime or if they're trying to get one on you, when in doubt, you can give us a call. Just let us know about it. Maybe it's something new. Maybe the criminals are doing something new that we do need to know about that we can look into. So you can give us a call. Specifically, I don't know, do you guys know our public information officer, Scotty Lehman? Do I raise your hands? Yeah? He's right over here. Well, this is his email address down at the bottom. Give him an email. You can write that down, but if not, down below is our non-emergency number. I'm going to talk a lot about that in the next couple of minutes. You don't have to write that down if you don't want to. At the end of the presentation, we'll have keychains in the back that have our non-emergency number on it. You can just grab one of those when you leave. Keep that near the refrigerator or somewhere at home so you can give us a call. Okay? We'll look into it. Okay, so some of the fun stuff. Special Weapons and Tactics Unit and our crisis negotiation team. We do have negotiators in the city. How many of you, by a show of hands, knew that we had a SWAT team? A SWAT team. About half of you knew that we had a SWAT team. That's good. Come on up, guys. That's good. Only half of you knew that we had a SWAT team, which tells us I think we're doing a good job, because the plan is to get in, be quiet, and get out, and not upset the community. So just a couple of examples of what our guys look like in their garb. And they love getting dressed up in their garb. Well, we got Sergeant Zablot on our left. He's what we call an operator. And then on the right is Officer Vitari in his pajamas. I mean, his ghillie suit. So we do have a SWAT team. And we do use a team. Now, the majority of what we do is barricade subjects. A lot of times, or suicidal subjects. They'll just lock themselves in a house, and that's generally what we deal with. Now, I will say this, in 26 years I've been here, I was on a team as one of those guys for 20 years. We never once shot anybody, never once got hurt on our missions by that guy. Knock on wood. Now, the majority of what they deal with is barricade subjects, but we also deal with hostage situations, suicidal subjects, dignitary protection. We do get the president at the college every now and then, so we're invited to go assist Secret Service. Arrest warrants, forcible entry search warrants, vehicle assaults, bus assaults, and officer rescue. Now, the last three, those are serious, but they're rare, and we've never had to do those, but we do train for them just in case, because we do have buses that come through the city. We do have vehicles, obviously vehicles, but we've never had to use a vehicle assault with this team. And we do have the ability to rescue officers. We're also currently looking to get a SWAT vehicle that's armored to help assist us with officer rescue. Thanks, fellas. Okay, next. Next is our special enforcement team. So, to give you an idea, the special enforcement team is our version of a street crime unit. They have a lot of different responsibilities, but in general, they will take a look at, and they'll work very closely with our analysts to see what's going on. Now, they work generally in an undercover capacity, sometimes so undercover, you can't even see their picture. Unless you look really close. But no, they'll do a lot of different things, but they are responsible for maintaining and being the channel for receipt of intelligence, criminal intelligence. A lot of the intelligence comes from other patrol officers that are on the streets. They see something suspicious, they'll send the information to our street crimes unit, and they'll follow up on it. We also get information from other agencies, not just to assist the other agency, but also to look into some information that they get to hear when they arrest somebody. We'll hear about bad guys in our city, and that's how we make some arrests doing that. They do work covert investigations, narcotic investigations. They utilize the surveillance equipment to keep an eye on some of the bad guys. They do work with and house the confidential informant files. Confidential informants are very important, and when you handle them, the informants, who becomes an informant, how we work with the informants, and how they're documented. We're very careful with keeping confidential informants confidential. They're only referred to in reports by number, and we've made a number of arrests with confidential informants, especially if a lot of the bad guys will get arrested, and state attorneys will call us and say, hey, we have someone here that wants to work off their charges. Can you work with them? Can they do buys for you? So we have done that in the past. What we don't do is use juveniles as confidential informants. We'll take information from juveniles, but I'll never put a juvenile in a situation that would put them in harm's way. And they do house the investigative fund. So this is a general fund that is budgeted, but it's not just for narcotic investigations. We've used the investigative fund just to further any type of investigation. For instance, we did have a homicide years ago, and one of our witnesses was in New York, so we had to pay to get them down here to testify. That's what that fund's for. All right, everybody loves the dogs, let's bring them in. We have a full canine unit, and here they come. So we have a total of 6 dogs. I'm going to talk about our newest addition soon, but 4 dogs coming in now are patrol dogs. Max, Titus, Lucky, and Noble. And I'm sure if you've been to any of our big events like the Butterfly Festival or some of the schools, we will do demonstrations with these pups. All of these dogs up here right now are dual certified. That means that they are trained in apprehension to catch the bad guys, physically grab the bad guys, and they're also trained in narcotics detection. Specifically, they detect the odor of marijuana, cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. I got that right? Yes. All right. So Max over here is our newest dog on patrol. We went and picked him up in New Smyrna Beach. He just completed training a couple months ago, and he's been doing great. He's been doing really good. Now Noble over here is our show dog. Although all 4 dogs, I'm going to talk about what's coming up real soon. But Noble loves to be a show dog. All right, guys, thanks. Okay, we do have one more dog. We have a recent addition to the canine program, and a little different. It's not like before these. It's a bloodhound, and her name is Liberty. I'm going to talk a little bit about Liberty because it's unique. Liberty is assigned to patrol right now, and her main purpose is missing person cases. She is assigned to Officer Sean Feisthamel. He's on patrol. We sent up, once he was selected to be the handler, we sent Officer Feisthamel to Kentucky to pick up Liberty when she was 8.5, 9 weeks old. Little ball of meat. She was a little thing with the big ears. Now, Liberty, we got Liberty for free through the Jimmy Rice Foundation, which is to help find missing people. So we flew her down. She's still growing, but she's, oh my gosh, she's getting big. She's getting really big right now. But she's also being trained as a therapy dog, and she's currently working and training with Broward Sheriff's Office because they have a bloodhound unit, so she's going out with them to see. By mingling with the older dogs, they tend to learn, pups tend to learn what they're supposed to do. She is scheduled to attend a tracking school in April. Now, how do we get Liberty as the name? We chose the name. Well, the city of Coconut Creek chose the name. When we got Liberty, she didn't have a name. So we had a little contest in our elementary schools. And we said, the child that comes up with the name that we decide to use for this bloodhound will get a bicycle, a pizza party for the class, so they look really cool, and the recognition for being, you know, a cool kid. Well, we had a lot of classes submit entries, but some of the classes voted as one. 3 different schools came up with the name Liberty. We had a lot of repeats, so we had a lot of pizza parties to give. But Liberty was the name that we chose, and it's fitting because Liberty was born on September 11th. So, I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but coming up in the week of March 23rd is our USPCA national regional competition. We're hosting this. This is going to be a big deal. We have dogs coming from all over the country to visit Coconut Creek for this competition. It's a week-long process that's segmented with different competitions each day. There's detection work, there's apprehension work, there's bomb detection or explosive detection, and obedience are included. All of our dogs are going to compete, and we think we're going to have a winner. So we put this up there to invite everyone, ambassadors, and please go out and let everyone else know. This night, Community Night on Thursday, March 23rd at Coral Glades High School is an open, free event. It's during spring break, so grandkids, children, bring them all. We're going to have all the dogs. They're going to announce all the winners. We're going to have the SWAT team doing a demonstration. Some of the dogs will do skits or little shows for you to watch. It'll be a good night. So coming out, show support for the USBCA regionals, hosted by Coconut Creek. Okay, support services. So that's a broad statement. But we're going to talk about a lot of what you do see at the schools and the demonstrations includes like the tactical stuff and the toys. But support service is more of the administrative arm of the police department. So let me put this in a little bit better perspective. We have the chief of police who oversees the whole department. Then we're split up into 3 divisions. The first division is operations. Operations includes your patrol and all of your detectives, the criminal investigations services, right? Then we have special operations division, which is what I'm responsible for, which includes the SWAT team, the special enforcement team, K-9, traffic, school services, and community services. Now that's a lot, but that's only 1/3. And then we have support services. Now within support services, we have the records division, or the records unit. We have the property and evidence unit. We have the real-time crime center. We have our finances. They're responsible for the budget. Yeah. Did I miss anything, Captain? In the back, so over support services, Captain Crippler. She was promoted in, I think, October, and she's here today, but she runs this division. So they're responsible for the real-time crime center, fingerprinting. If people come in, we will fingerprint them. All of police records and the alert system. These are the cameras that we have throughout the city. And if something happens, the cameras are monitored by a real-time crime center, and we can send officers to the problem. But support service is the administrative arm, and they're responsible for the budget. One of the biggest, the most important section of the police department. Not really, but it was when I was there. So employee development. So this is a different term. This employee development is a broad term for what this section is responsible for. The person on the left is Lieutenant Kevin Valade. He's back here. Kev, wave, say hi. He is also our strategic planning lieutenant. So his responsibility, aside from everything we're about to talk about, he's also responsible for coming up with our goals and our plan for the entire police department from now, 5 years out, and 10 years out. And in other words, where are we going to go in the next 5 to 10 years? What kind of programs are we looking at? What are our accomplishments? What do we want to achieve? What are we looking to accomplish in the future? What equipment will we need? What services, what divisions do we need to move around? It's a lot involved. It's a lot of work for him. But also is our professional development section too, and what used to be called our training division. We have two, well, you already met those two folks up there on the right, Sergeant Tablata and Officer Vittori. They also run what most people call our training unit, we call employee development. But within that is our monthly and annual training, which includes de-escalation training, active killer training, firearms proficiency, and taser proficiency. They're responsible for keeping our officers certified and maintaining the standards set forth by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. But with accreditation and with our training, or our employee development unit, we go above those standards and we do excessive training throughout the year, usually monthly. And the monthly training can vary from autism training to live show-up training, bunch of different things. It varies every month. And a lot of times, at the end of the year, we'll have a committee that comes together and decides that now the committee's made up of officers from all over the department and civilians from different areas of the department. They get together and they tell the employee development unit, like, this is what we'd like to see over the next year. This is what we think we need. The crime scene girls will talk about some crime scene training. Patrol will talk about maybe high-risk traffic stops, maybe driving, different types of things. We put it all together and it's presented to command staff at the end of the year for the next year. So we know a year out basically what we're going to be working on. Okay? So again, this is the non-emergency number. I'm going to talk about this in the next couple of slides. You can either write this down, put it in your phone, or grab a keychain in the back when you're on your way out. But there's a reason why we're talking about this. So, there's two numbers, our non-emergency number and 911. We all know to call 911 when you need the police, right? However, if a lot of people call 911 at the same time, it kind of bogs down the lines every once in a while. So we want to get the word out there as to when you should be using a non-emergency number, when a true emergency exists, and when we should be calling 911. So on the left, these are some of the examples that we use to give you an idea of when 911 should be used. For instance, any crime in progress. Examples would be robbery, carjacking, kidnapping, burglary, etc. Crash where injuries may be present. And if you're driving up Lions Road and you see a crash, and it looks like somebody might be hurt, call 911. We're still going to go. Any type of fire, chest pain or pressure that lasts more than a couple of minutes. Any chest pain, now we call 911. You never know. Don't mess around with that. Bleeding that doesn't stop, choking, and unconsciousness or lack of responsiveness. And generally, we would say a bee sting does not constitute 911. However, if someone has an allergic reaction to that bug bite, or if they eat something, they have an allergic reaction, that's an emergency, you call 911. So you get what I'm trying to say. It's the emergency, a true emergency, somebody's hurt, somebody's dying, or a crime in progress, you call 911. Everything else may feel like an emergency, we'll talk about some examples, but we want to call the non-emergency number. We're going to send somebody out. It might be 10, 15 minutes, but we're going to send somebody out, we're going to look into it. But some examples to give you an idea would be the report of a delayed fraud or theft. If you're the victim of fraud, it feels really bad. You feel violated. I get that, but it's not a true emergency, so we ask that you call a non-emergency number. To find if someone you know is in jail. These are some of the examples of when we get phone calls and what they're asking. Ask questions about homeowners association rules. Non-emergency, don't call 911 for that, please. Ask for information about animal services. You can call the non-emergency number, but a lot of this stuff is on our website. Animal Services has a whole page in the police department. There's a lot of information on there. Critters in the Creek, the tag program, everything, the hub, everything's on there. Your child won't go to school, it's not an emergency. We will come, we will tell them they got to go to school, but let's not call 911 for that. We get a lot of calls for that. Yeah. Why is the helicopter flying over my neighborhood? We don't need to call 911 for that. Ask yourself, basically, is the situation legitimately a life or death emergency? So you get the idea of non-emergency versus emergency. We got a little test for you ambassadors to make sure you're given the right information when you go back. We're going to talk about three things. Number one, picture of a helicopter over your neighborhood. Do we call 911? By a show of hands. Wow, good. Non-emergency. What if it's a sheriff's helicopter? Would we call 911? No. Because if there's a sheriff's helicopter over your complex, we probably called them, so we're going to know about it. They're helping us out. We're looking for somebody. We're going to get them. Number two, chest pain. Yep. By a show of hands, 911, an emergency? Yes, good. Number three, I think it comes out. Yeah. Number three, someone went through my car overnight and my belongings are gone. You come out in the parking lot and this is what you find. Is this an emergency? By a show of hands. Wow. Impressive. Correct. Not an emergency. It feels like one, especially if they took your laptop, but it's not an emergency. We're going to come, we're going to take a report, we're going to investigate it, and we're going to try and find it. Let's not call 911 for that. All right? Okay, so Sanchita and Sergeant Hendricks, come on up. If anybody has any questions about anything we've talked about, and I apologize, I do tend to talk quickly, but we did leave a little bit of time for questions and answers, about 5 minutes. And if we don't get to you now, we will be outside here, because I know we have a commission meeting in about 30 minutes. So, okay, go ahead.
Can you just touch on Creek Armor app in the area that it works in? Can I give it to my friend in Michigan and have them call it when I call a friend? Or is it just Coconut Creek?
So yes, anybody can download the app, and the walk with a friend does work anywhere. So you can send them the link. They can monitor your walk to see where you go, and when you get where you're going, you can just hit disconnect and it stops. So if there's a problem, yes, you can hit the panic button or let us know, and we will be able to find you. But it doesn't work here. Yeah, we can't. Right. It doesn't work the other way. Yes, sir.
How many employees in the PD and how many are sworn off?
Great question. So we have approximately so his question was how many employees in the police department and how many are sworn? We have approximately 165 employees total, and 114 right now are sworn, and we're almost full. It's been a long time since we've been full. We've always been short a couple a couple of vacancies, but our recruitment team's been doing such a good job. And all the surrounding agencies, and mostly in law enforcement, they're having a hard time finding people. We're not, we're finding good people. And we're almost done, we're almost full. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I have a comment, and I'm sure everybody here feels this way. I've lived in Crete for 23 years. The last 8 have been stellar to the police department. I mean, they were always good, unbelievable. And the chief, I'm gonna butcher this, no pun intended. His motto, and you know better than I, of course, about resolving problems. In other words, if you guys come out and there's not a police matter, but let's resolve it, let's get these.
So we will never tell you that's not something we do, that's not our problem,
Exactly.
right?
Which
There's
they
always
have
something we can do.
before.
You're
In the
right.
past.
Right.
Never anymore. And I mean, I dealt with, we had undercover, we had so much cooperation. And I really get, it hurt my heart because it's unbelievable, constant. When we interview, we tell people, here's a non-emergency, what it's for, but call 911 if you see something suspicious that you're nervous about, they love coming out. And they do. And so, you know, again, from Butch all the way across, it's the best in Southern. I don't know if everyone knows it, but it was a Coconut Creek police officer that identified and caught the part of the shooter.
That was Mike, that was Taylor's handler. That was up for you.
I don't know if everyone knows that, that just tells you.
So, well, thank you. You got me a little nervous when you first started. I thought, oh, I hope I know the answer to this, but we appreciate that. No, our motto is we'll never tell you that there's nothing we could do. And if you ever hear that, the chief, I always listen, he will buy you a steak dinner. And that's not, I'm not just putting him on the spot. He said, if they ever tell you, if any of our officers ever say, well, we can't do it, there's nothing we can do, that's a civil matter or that's someone else's problem, he'll buy you a steak dinner. That's not our philosophy. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
911, does that go to a call center or and just the number that is new or whistle? And that's your local,
Yes.
it's in-house, but if you get the 911 that goes, I guess goes through the county and they give.
No, so first off, great question, I know where you're going. So his question was, the 2 numbers that we gave, where do they go? Basically, where do they go? The non-emergency number goes to our real-time crime center. That number that we gave in the keychain goes to our real-time crime center, so you can talk to a person. The second question, 911, because we switched over to Coral Springs dispatch now. We work with Coral Springs, so directly to Coral Springs, yes. And we have a time limit, the calls have to be dispatched quickly, immediately.
Hallelujah to that.
So does anybody have any other questions? No. Yes, ma'am.
I frequently get calls from where a National Police Association or something like that, and they're looking for money. Usually I hang up, because I'm not gonna give to a police association that I know nothing about. So, does Coconut Creek do any kind of fundraising? And if so, what would they do? And
So,
because we want to support my local police department.
So, yeah, that's a good question. So, if everyone, and I hope everyone heard that, she said she gets the calls for where police agencies are asking for money and she hangs up. Again, no, that's not your police agency. Can you make donations to your agency? Yes, you can. You won't hear us talk
But
about.
when I get those calls, they're scams, you think they're scams?
No, they could be a scam, but I know that there are organizations, law enforcement organizations that do solicit donations, but we don't do that.
And departments and military only get 10% of what those people are soliciting for. It's not.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, just to piggyback on her question, so do you have a foundation, like the donations from the foundation
Well,
to donate to? or-
So like what Sergeant Henry's talking about is Do the Right Thing. That's a program that we support. So that we, and the Explorer program. So we do accept donations, we just don't generally solicit them for the most part. the exception to do the right thing. Yes, ma'am.
I recently donated for the dog, for the upcoming event, sponsor a dog.
So that's the USPCA, so what she's talking about, the USPCA is, we're hosting the event, but that's a one-time event, that's not our, yeah. All right, thank you very much all for being here, we appreciate it. We'll be out, the officers will be in the back, and